when you come to design your greetings card, it's really important that you use some interesting typography. But it's not just a matter of just being able to draw the typography. You need to make sure it's accurate and everything is in proportion. To do that, you need to use what we can use guidelines. And I'm going to show you how to use guidelines for the typography. You can see one in your folder has already been done for you. So this typography style, I've already drawn the lines on, and I've drawn how to copy the letter style. Your job now is going to be to do the other two. So you've got two different typography styles here. The middle one is called a sans serif, and the last one is a serif. So for both of these, your task is going to be to copy these words in that letter style in the boxes to the right. So I'm going to show you on the middle one how you're going to do this. The bottom one you can do yourself. So in order for this to work, what you have to do is we have to see where the letters line up. So there's normally 4 or 5 different levels within typography. If we have a look at the top of the lettering, we can see that the T and the L are pretty much in line with each other. So the tip of the T and the L are pretty much the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a very, very faint guideline going across the T and the L, across into the box next to us. You need to press very lightly because these guidelines should just about be visible. You don't want them to be too prominent, otherwise when you draw on your lettering, your letter styles aren't going to be visible. Now our S is the only one at this level, so I'm just going to draw a very faint line into the box just ever so slightly. It doesn't need to go all the way because the S is obviously the first letter. We can then see the top of this bar on the T, the Y and the L are all at the same level. So I can take my ruler, match those up, and again draw a faint guideline going across. You will then see the bottom of the S, the T, the L and the E are all at the same level. So that's nice and easy to match those up and draw a faint guideline going across. And then the last one at the bottom is the Y. So we just need to draw a guideline going across. And again, that one doesn't need to go all the way because the Y is in the middle. So what we've now got is we've got 5 sets of lines to help us get the heights of the different letters in the right place. You can see from the one that I've already done in your booklets that not only have I got the heights of the different parts of the letters, I've also got the width. So to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to place a nice vertical line at the beginning of the letter and then get the middle point between each letter and draw a guideline going down. Really try and make sure your ruler is perfectly vertical because it will help you with figuring out how wide the letters need to be. So you've now got a load of lines coming down. If I just zoom in so you can see that a bit better. You've got a load of lines coming down for each of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure roughly the width of each of these. You can round up ever so slightly. So this one's obviously 1.9, so I'm going to make that 2. So I'm just going to note there that that's 2 centimetres. The one for the T, it's about 1.3. So I'm going to keep that at 1.3. The Y is about 2.1, so I'm going to change that to 2. The L is about 1, and the E is 2. So now that I've got those measurements, I can draw those guidelines onto my line here. Now I don't want to start the S of the word style right up against my box, so I'm going to draw a very faint guideline that's going to be 0.5 centimetre in from the left hand side, and this now becomes the first guideline after the S. So I've then got 2 centimetres, so I'm going to measure 2 centimetres in at the top, same at the bottom, and then I'm going to match those up with my ruler and draw a very faint line again. All of these guidelines should be really, really faint, so they're just about visible. I've then got the next one, which is 1.3. 1, 2, 3. 1.3. Again, match those up and draw the line down. The next one is 2. And then we've got 1. Again, always make sure your guidelines are nice and faint. And then the last one we've got is 2 centimetres, which takes us just shy of the end of the box. So now what we've got are a set of guidelines that has created boxes in our box already on the page. So now I can see instantly I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate boxes, and it shows me all the different heights. So all your task will be now is to look at how the letters sit within those guidelines on the left and copy the letter styles into the right. So if we look at the S, we can see the S obviously touches this line here and it touches this line here. So I'm going to draw ever so lightly. You can see I'm just pressing the pencil onto the page. So the S doesn't quite meet this line here. The tail at the bottom is slightly wider, so I'm going to keep that inside that line. Ever so carefully, I'm going to bring the curve round. Obviously this line of the S angles down till it touches that corner line. And the base of the S touches that line, comes round. The S is the same thickness all the way, so I need to make sure I keep that as I am. You can see I am doing very sketchy lines, so I'm pressing very, very lightly so that I can curve off bits that aren't quite right, so I can get the angles of letters correct. Once I'm then happy with the shape, I can then press over with my pencil a lot harder, and I can ever so carefully and neatly now draw in the outline of the S. You then repeat the same task for the T, so we can see the middle part of the T sits inside this box a little bit more to the left than it does to the right, and we've got an angle on the top. The top of the T obviously touches this line, so I'm going to draw a very faint line, keeping it as straight as I can to the bottom. Roughly get the thickness of the T. Can then see from the top of the S, it angles upwards. So I can then draw that on. So what I've started to create is the rectangle. I can then do the horizontal rectangle that creates the bar, and the top part of that sits on the line we've already drawn. It's fairly thick. Okay, and again that's been drawn nice and lightly, so now I can use my pencil and take my time to very carefully draw that letter in. You then can repeat for the Y. So again, we can look at how these lines come. So we can see this line here of the Y comes from the corner of our square that we've drawn, roughly to the left-hand side of the middle. So I can, again, ever so carefully draw those in, again from the other side. Now this one actually extends all the way down to the very furthest line. So I can extend that down to the furthest line. I've then got the thickness of the Y. And again, the thickness of all the letters should be the same. So the thickness of the S, the T, should all look fairly similar when you're drawing them on. So again, you can see I'm doing very sketchy lines to get the positioning and the shape of the letter first. Then I can press down harder, taking my time to get the letters in. Obviously the L is going to be a nice easy one. It's just a nice straight rectangle in the middle of that line. And again, really work on keeping the thicknesses of your letters, especially with verticals. Really try your best to keep them nice and vertical. Don't veer off at an angle or make them wavy. And then the last one is obviously the E. Now you could add another additional guideline if you wanted to. So we could draw a guideline across for where the base of the bar on the E goes across. So I can see the bars there. This curves up and round, nice even curve, curves back up on itself. So if you actually look, this is almost a circle. So you could draw in a circle, and then you've got the starting positions there to then draw in your E. I need to come this way a little bit more. Again, you can see I'm being very sketchy. It doesn't matter if you create a few extra lines, you go over lines, they're a little bit sketchy. as long as you're pressing lightly. And then once you've got those there, again pressing harder with your pencil to define the actual outline that you want, you can then draw in your letter style. And that is what you need to do. So I've obviously shown you how to do the sans serif. You need to do that now. And then when you've done that one, the exact same technique you're going to do with the serif. Well done and good luck.